Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here today. I know that this was a quick meeting to get scheduled with the exciting announcement of our University of Full-Time Connectors being able to be placed on our university campuses. I am so glad that your enthusiasm is as high as mine. So we are going to we wanted to make sure that we got everybody in the room together and shared a pretty robust update from our partners with the Cabinet for Health and Family Services and KPCA, the Kentucky Primary Care Association, as they are kind of the lead managers and obviously funders of this initiative. As we get started, how about we just go around the room and do some introductions? I'm happy to start. My name is Lily Massa McKinley, and I work with CPE as the Assistant Vice President for Student Access and Success. I also help lead the Kentucky Student Success Collaborative. And we've been working on student basic needs for several years now with our campus partners, and this rose to the top as one of those big needs that we had. Expertise on benefits eligibility and support with that screening and just overall capacity support on our campuses. I'm going to pass it to my colleague, Ariane.
Good afternoon. My name is Ariane Jet Seals, and I am the Associate Director for Student Basic Needs, overseeing the Basic Needs Strategy for the collaborative. So I'm very happy to have been a part of this work and partnering with KPCA, KCTCS, and looking forward to working with you all further on this initiative. The next person on the screen is actually Melissa. I'll popcorn to you.
Thank you. It's so nice to meet everybody and to see the faces. As Russ said, I am newly appointed to this, and I'm very excited about it. I've heard about it coming for a little while with the discussion on it. I am the Director of Student Activities at Morehead State, and I'm also over the Eagle Essentials Food Bank Essential Needs room that we have. And so I work with students on all areas. And I'll pass it on to, let's see, Marianne Young.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Marianne Young. I'm at the University of Kentucky, and I am in the financial wellness space, which includes our Big Blue Pantry as well as our basic needs office. So really excited to be here and to meet with you all. And so I will pass it on to Shirley.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shirley Hardy. I'm the Associate Director of Student Care and Student Conduct in the Dean of Students Office at the University of Louisville. We handle all the students' crisis, all their care needs, and conduct.
How about Laura?
Hi, everybody. I'm Laura Vance. I'm the Dean of Students at EKU, and this group convening means that every time I see Lily, I'm not asking her, so when are we getting a connector again? So I'm sure that that's a relief to Lily. And now we'll just talk about fun stuff like what we're doing with our connectors. I'm very excited about this. I'll hand it over to John.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Pastor. I'm with the Kentucky Health Benefit Exchange, so part of the CHFS cabinet. We actually work closely with KPCA in executing the contract for these connectors on campus. So really excited to be here and work with you all today. I'll pass it over to our partner, Carol Atkins.
Thanks, John. It's nice to get you to meet you all. Carol Atkins, Director of Community Engagement and Outreach at Kentucky Primary Care Association. We have had connectors partnering with KHBE since 2013 with expansion of the Affordable Care Act. So we are happy to have community connectors for many, many years. And now we have college connectors and now university and DCBS connectors. So really excited to work with all of you. I forgot to pass the ball. Dr. Bob Alston.
Hey, friends. I'm Bob Alston. I work at Northern Kentucky University as the Assistant Vice President and Dean of Students within Student Affairs. And so I actually am hopping on for some colleagues. We're in a moment of transition. We have a new Vice President for Student Affairs starting at the beginning or in the middle of April, excuse me. And so I am kind of filling in while we figure out where our work with the connector position will live. But y'all may be familiar with Peg Adams and or Nick Bliven, who are some of the primary folks that have been working with our community partners, including a connector with the Northern Kentucky Community Action Commission in the past. So, and then let's see who I will find. Peggy. Hi, Peggy from Murray State.
Hi, thank you. It's good to see everyone. I'm Peggy Whaley. I'm the director for student engagement and success at Murray State. So we're focused on retention and student success. We're in the Division of Student Affairs, which houses our food pantry. We've been working with student basic needs for a while and have that information listed on our website. I'm so excited to hear more about the full-time connector. Thank you. I'll pass it on to Martha.
Hello, I'm Martha Sells. I'm the Vice President for Student Experience and Dean of Students at Western Kentucky University, and our office takes care of our students' basic needs across campus. And I am sorry, I'm in transition driving, so I will turn it over to whoever has not spoken yet.
I think that's everyone, right?
Perfect.
Okay, great. Let me share screen and we'll dive right in. Okay. Let me just make sure I can also see the chat. Okay. All right, so just a quick overview of our time together today. I'll share a very brief overview of kind of the origination of this connector partnership with our college and universities in Kentucky, as well as some early impact from our KCTCS connectors. We'll kind of go around and Carol and John, Ariane, and then we're going to share what our unique roles are in supporting this connector partnership. And then we'll also provide a brief update or overview, I guess, of the university point of contact's role and responsibility in this work. We'll then turn it over to Carol and John to kind of talk about some of the logistics of what's coming next, what the timeline looks like. And of course, any questions that you have throughout, please feel free to raise your hands and ask your questions. We'll definitely make sure that we get through all of the questions if we're kind of asking throughout. So don't hesitate, and just to save it for the end. So as I mentioned at the beginning, we've been working on student basic needs as a state really together for the last 3 years. And in May of 23, we released a statewide strategy for student basic needs that was developed and co-created with all of our KCTCS and university partners across the state. The strategy itself really focuses on the need to increase access to basic need services for current college students and increase access to post-secondary education for individuals currently receiving state supports. So it is a multi-directional strategy, and we are working with the Cabinet for Health and Family Services as a significant partner on many elements of this strategy. The one that really, we went to Secretary Friedlander and we're talking about one of our data points around the SNAP gap. There's not a ton that you can measure related to benefits accessibility, but we do have good SNAP data on our currently enrolled students. And we saw that with Pell eligibility being kind of an income guideline that closely is a proxy for potential SNAP eligibility, we saw that there was a pretty significant gap between what percent of our Pell students actually received SNAP benefits in this case, but it is kind of broadly looking at overall benefits accessibility. And, you know, Secretary Friedlander, to his credit, said, well, I think we can do something about that. We have an army of connectors. We have a lot of support that their specific role and purpose is to screen individuals for benefits eligibility and then to support them in the application process so that they can receive these benefits that may help them continue on to improve their lives for financial self-sufficiency. So that really became the origination of, okay, let's see how we can increase this capacity on our campuses and leverage connectors to do that. And so connectors really provide the expertise on our college campuses about the benefits eligibility process. And they will also assist individuals with application assistance or with filling out applications and tracking them to completion. Our goal as a partnership is to close this benefit gap for our students. Now, not all students that receive Pell are going to be eligible for these benefits, but if we don't screen, we don't know. And so we really want to reduce the gap, eliminate the gap and reduce the number, and give as many students access to benefits as are eligible. So we have been, I believe that we launched the connector contract to support KCTCS colleges went into effect in like August of 23. That was a very quick and fast turnaround. And so thank you to the cabinet for that. And then the process of, working with KPCA, developing that job description, doing all the recruiting, the interviewing, the selection process, and then finally the connectors started hitting our campuses toward late fall. So if we look at January, and Carol, you might have a better date on this, but I feel like all of our campuses had a full-time connector around January of 2024.
I actually just looked this up, Carol. I think we had the final people coming on in about February
Okay.
of 2024.
Okay, so we just pulled data from January through December of 2024, and there's a lot of data that can be shared. So back to your campuses to see the impact of your connectors. But just looking overall, our 16 full-time connectors reached over 38,000 individuals. And that's through campus tabling, through large events, as well as through other kind of more personalized direct outreach. They had 3,200, almost 3,300 student appointments, which is an individual consulting appointment for that benefit screening. They assisted almost 2,700 students with applications, and they also serve an important role of referring students to other community-based resources. And so they were making quite an impact this last year. And this was still all while in the very first year of any initiative, you are learning a ton of lessons about, what do we need? What information do our connectors need that maybe we didn't provide them right at the beginning? Or what other partners on campus? What other resources in our community can we tell them about so that they know how to best refer? And so we're really excited that we, this last July, we actually did a convening with our connectors and our campus points of contact to think about, okay, how is our partnership going and what do we think we can do for continuous improvement? And so now, as we expand to our universities, we have a lot of great insights that we think will strengthen and make this even more of a seamless transition for everyone. But before we get there, I did want to make sure that we really can clearly outline the roles that each of our different entities will play in this process. And so I'm going to let each organization kind of share their own role. And so we'll kind of start off with you, John, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I kind of touched on during my intro, CHFS kind of works as the funder of the connectors going out to the campuses. We partner with several different organizations across the state for the connectors across the state. Specifically for this initiative, we work closely with KPCA and Carol's group, as they have people all over the state so they could fit the needs of this project, right? So they have resources in all the different areas where you guys have your campuses, as well as the KCTCS campuses that we're currently doing. So simply put, we kind of just execute the contract to KPCA and give them the money to roll out the connectors to the campuses. And as Carol said, they have over 10 years of experience of managing the connector program. So we trust them in their resources to make sure that the connectors get onboarded and put in place correctly, and the assistance they needed to kind of be successful in their roles. But so yeah, I guess I'll pass it to Carol to kind of expand on that a little bit.
Thanks again, John. Appreciate that. So at KPCA, we first kind of established the point of contact with the campus. So who will be our point of contact for when our connector needs to, needs something, or that person that they'll be checking in with on campus, and we'll be sharing things with them and that kind of thing. We establish the point of contact, the office space, make sure, where will they be? We have the address, we have all of those things. We assign the equipment. We address the needs that, excuse me, that they have on campus, and try to make sure that they're connected with all the systems that they would need to be able to, share information with all the students, and that they're doing their events. But prior to that, we list the positions on Indeed and on LinkedIn, and we do the interviews, and we hire the staff. we introduce first our manager to the point of contact, so they can find the office space and make sure everything is ready for our connector. When our connector is hired, they do about a 3-week orientation where they're training and they're mentoring with, or they're a mentee with somebody who has experience and can help them shadow, and then they do their own applications and have help with that before we let them loose to actually work on applications with students. But they are on campus the day after they start orientation. One day, the next day they're on campus doing their training. So you'll see the manager with them and their mentor with them. Sometimes they may leave to go somewhere else to shadow somebody, because when they're shadowing, they usually will go to that person and watch how they're doing things. We have already the connector ready to go to Western Kentucky University whenever you're ready. She has trained or is training right now her replacement. She's moving over a lateral move from a position she comes to us with, or she comes to you with 10, 11 years of experience as a connector. So
that's
so
awesome. We're ready anytime. That's awesome.
Awesome. Good deal. So anytime you guys want to reach out, or we're ready when you are. I have gotten to speak by chance with Dr. Vance one day, looking for applicants that have some experience, or if not, those who really want to help. Things that we can help with are the application for healthcare, right? Whether it is Medicaid, SNAP, or I'm sorry, not SNAP, Medicaid, qualified health plans, which is the ones that they pay some for, or CHIP for children. We also help with SNAP applications and CCAP applications, which is the child care programs. And we are supposed to be getting, hopefully pretty soon, the accessibility to help with WIC. We don't have that yet, but in the future, we hope to be able to help with that too. We also keep local resources. Each connector, wherever they are, keep local resource folder to refer to other things as needed. So if somebody comes to them with a need, they also are kind of like a community health worker, where they refer them on to things that can help better their lives and make them more successful. We also partner very closely with our community health centers, federally qualified health centers, so that our connector is aware that which clinics have vision or dental, or the sliding scale fee, and the different programs that could help with whatever need that they may have. All right, that's it. If you have any questions, let me know.
I have a question. How many managers are going to support the university connectors, or are they the same ones that are also supporting the KCTCS connectors?
So we have hired one new person. The way we're doing it, since we have all of Kentucky, we have 4 people that are kind of in districted. So DCBS will be on its own, right? But as far as the colleges and universities, the managers will each have their areas, like east, west, and then mid, So we have one position that's kind of what we're looking at internally, our employees, and we want to promote from within, but we will have a total of 4 who are helping across the state, depending on where you are, and you will meet the manager for your location.
Okay, great. Yeah, so that's the person that would be on site occasionally, meeting with the connector, checking out the workstation, et cetera.
Yes, they will be working very closely. They'll be on campus at least once a month, working with them when they initially start, even more than that. They also have some funding to take their point of contact out to eat, with the manager, so that they can have a discussion and get to know the connector and the manager. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And so I would also assume that for our campus points of contact, that manager point of contact will be a very important person in their kind of network and staying in touch. I think that would be maybe a lesson learned, is like the stronger that relationship can be between the campus and KPCA, the better the communication and the proactive, addressing of any challenges, or brainstorming new ideas, like those kinds of things. So just staying in touch when you learn that, who is my KPCA manager.
Absolutely.
In addition to your connector, obviously, but having that manager relationship will be really great too.
Yeah, very much so. Their connectors do a training. They have to have a criminal background check that's clear. They have pretty intensive training on privacy and security with the colleges. Excuse me. We have signed on the consent form to have a university email address so that they can better communicate internally with your students and your faculty and your staff. And we tell them, you're not just there for the students, you're there for the faculty and staff as well. I worked at EKU for a long time in my education, both grad and undergrad. And it was integral, to have that connection with the students to make them feel like you're one of them. You're their person to come to whatever they need. And being integrated into, they have a starfish program at KCTCS. I'm not sure what program you have for the communication with your students, but being a part of that, we make sure that they are regularly trained in, phishing scams and all the things that might cause, I guess, breaches or possible incidents. We're very conscious of that and train. We have the little things that shoot out weekly to see if they're going to click on something that might expose. So we try to make sure they're very safe for your campuses.
That's great. Ariane, do you want to describe the collaborative's role?
Sure, I don't mind. So the collaborative has been supporting the integration and implementation of the Connector Initiative. While it's been almost a year now, Lily. It's been almost a year that I've been here, but I know that Lily worked and did a lot of work with the Student Basic Needs Action Network to build up the conversation and how this would look alongside of Carrie Welton with TICAS. And, from that, the collaborative focuses on ensuring that connectors are embedded, by offering collaborating opportunities for institutions to align their efforts, facilitating professional development, offering community of practices. The community of practices can be professional development opportunities, as well as opportunities for each other to share some of the things that they would like to navigate, opportunities to share out some things that are working on different campuses, or maybe it's an opportunity for resource gathering, which is kind of stay in tune to what our connectors and our campus partners say that it is that they need. And we work on those agendas accordingly. We work on strengthening the partnerships and providing opportunities, much like Lily had mentioned earlier. Back in July, we had the report that came from an actual in-person convening where KPCA and all of KCTCS was able to join us. And we were able to have a conversation on resource and, their procedure mapping and having conversations on, how we can more streamline the processes, what opportunities might be available, and how this could better work together. And so there's a lot of work that that the collaborative is happy to do, and a lot of opportunities there for us to continue to support this initiative. And my role is joining alongside with Lily in maintaining and continue to provide, those collaborations and learning opportunities.
Yeah, so I'll just, I know Ariane has recently started a connector guiding team. And so this is really an advisory group that brings the partners together on a quarterly basis, perhaps, or maybe it's every other month, I don't recall. And they talk about how do we continue to strengthen and improve this partnership. And so right now it's comprised of KCTCS, KPCA, the collaborative, the cabinet, but we will want to include additional university representatives as a part of that guiding team. It's something that with guiding teams, we typically have a representation, but not every single institution needs to be a part of it at one time. And as it's about a year of service, then we rotate out and put different voices on the guiding team. So we can follow up and see if anybody is interested in this it's really just launched in January. So this kind of early on guiding team to continue to inform the partnership and work. And then Ariane mentioned communities of practice, but there is a specific connector community of practice. And so we will invite your connectors to join that monthly conversation where they get to talk to all the connectors that are on our college and university campuses in Kentucky and say, how are you finding your students? Or how are you utilizing Starfish or the other information systems to better support students? How did you get this great list of, here, share all of your community resources with me, and I'll kind of take that and make sure I'm not missing anything. So it's a really good community building, sharing of, what's working, what their challenges may be, and how they can, support each other. Okay, and then for the university points of contact, I'll just start off with a few things and then welcome, Carol and John, Ariane to add in ideas around what this responsibility really is. As the point of contact, you are going to be the first person that is contacted related to your connector. So if KPCA or even Ariane has any questions or opportunities that they want to share, they're going to loop you in on those conversations. You'll have a very probably a more intensive role up front to prepare the way for your connectors, to orient and onboard your connectors, and then to make sure that you're checking in with them so that they feel integrated into the campus. I feel like on some of our smaller KCTCS campuses, even this was a challenge, and those were much smaller physical locations, much smaller student bodies. And so I just imagine that there'll be quite a few folks that you'll want to introduce your connectors to, raising awareness around campus, not just to students, but to your faculty and to other staff around this new person on the student success team. Those are some of the, and then some of the, email address and, access to, whatever technology systems you think would be beneficial for them to use. Those are going to be really important things. And obviously they'll need a physical workstation, and that physical office, consider that they'll be having pretty sensitive conversations with students, staff, and faculty perhaps. And so you'll want it to be, not maybe an open cubicle, but a space where there's some privacy for those conversations. Okay, I'm going to pass it over to anybody else that has ideas. And then if as a university point of contact, you have additional ideas or questions to ask, please do so. Carol, are there any direct MOAs between the campuses and KPCA or the cabinet? Like the data privacy or any other agreements that you needed that we did with the KCTCS sites?
So our agreement is with the state KHPE.
Okay.
And then we have an agreement with you. We don't have a separate agreement with them. No.
Okay.
So one question I have is Martha, when she was speaking, I got Vice President, Dean of Students, but I didn't get the location. Where? No, she's driving.
Martha's at WKU.
Okay.
She's ready.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes.
I just have a question. We've had a connector in the past. They've not, of course, been full-time. I'm assuming with this next iteration of this, they will be full-time. Is that
Yes
the intent? And then it will be difficult to allow them access to a lot of student information because of that confidentiality of information. To what level of student information do they need, I guess, access to?
I mean, I would just say that at KCTCS, some of the colleges gave their connectors access to Starfish, and then some of them chose not to. And so my question would just be, if that's, kind of your university policy, is are there any other examples on your campus where you have made a compelling case for access in the past? I feel like, you know, when I worked at a campus, we had AmeriCorps members that were not employees of our institution, but they did so much serving our students, and they had their campus email address and they had access to various student information systems that were just necessary for their role.
Yes, and I think the connectors are employed by KPCA, is that right?
Yes.
So I think because they're not a university employee, at least on our campus, we're going to run into issues with access. I don't think that that's limited our current connector from helping students, but I just wanted to mention that.
So the connectors that have been on campus previously with the universities, I know we have some prior to having this, you know, in our district is mostly, or region is mostly in Southeast Kentucky. So we have the universities and colleges and areas over there. But those were just a regular connector who's like community connector, and they help everybody in that area. They focus on fairs and festivals and you know, community outreach. This person will be on your campus daily, 8 a.m., whatever time you start, like 8 a.m. to 4:30 or 5 p.m. They'll be there every day. They will go out to your satellite campuses. So even though they're not actually your staff, we will sign a contract with you, or we'll have them sign a contract with you stating that they will follow your guidelines. They, you know, we hope that you will integrate them and give them the permissions to be able to see what they need, with the understanding that, you know, we've cleared all of their background checks, and, you know, we are training them rigorously, and you're welcome to add something to that if you want to too, as far as, you know, here we like to have things done this way. It is really important that they have that information. And I know with KCTCS, some of them don't give them a physical copy of the student basic needs survey, but their campus point of contact, or there's somebody that is designated to meet with them monthly to go over and give them referrals, right? We have encrypted emails. We have a lot of things in place because we've done this for many, many years, and KHPE and the state is very stringent with us on, you know, privacy. And so we have our extra IT support to make sure that we are, you know, purging our computers of any list and all the things that we should not have on there, to do everything we can to make sure that your privacy is of the utmost importance. And you know.
Right, and I appreciate that. Will we get the agreement that we need to sign in advance so we can run it past our vice presidents and all those people that need to be in agreement with this?
So Lily, the consent form that we have with KCTCS, or I'm sorry, with KCTCS, we have a lot of acronyms. That one was basically their standard, you know, the uniform policy consent form that everybody who has access to those programs uses. Will we have something like that with the university? Do we need to draft that?
I think that since each individual university may have a different process or different approvals, I think that would probably be individual. And so, yeah, I would love more feedback from you all. Who thinks that this will be a barrier, you know, to granting access, even if you have an agreement in place or you have, but others think that they should be able to figure that out, or?
With just off the top of my head, just thinking out loud, I think, you know, we'll probably want to do some kind of MOA just to have, we have the mechanisms on the back end to make the access happen. It's just a matter of having something documented, not because we don't think it's going to be a good faith effort, just because legal will want us to be able to have it. That's pretty much, that's my perspective though. I know, again, it might be individual.
Yeah.
It will be the same at Moorhead. We'll have some things that we need to do. I don't know if we did have some issues with a cyber attack a couple of years ago, and so we are very careful about everything. And so I know that we'll need to do some things and run it by through our legal and all of the powers that be to be able to make sure that we can get the access that is needed.
It will be
Yes,
the same.
WKU will be the same. I'm sorry. Yes, WKU will be the same. Sorry about that. And thank you, Lily. Yeah, we're ready.
I'm sorry. It'll be the same for the University of Louisville as well. We will have to run it through legal counsel and just get their feedback on what next steps we would need to take and what information we would need.
Yeah, and it's the same at Murray State. It'd be legal, and our university registrar is very FERPA compliant, and so they very strict about that. So those will be barriers, and we'll need to work it through before. When are we wanting the connectors to start?
I believe they're in the interview process. So, and then they'll do their training. And I would imagine that they could start and then get access to the systems once the MOUs are finalized. So there's still so much to do in that onboarding window that it would still be beneficial for them to join your campuses. Would you all want to put together a kind of a shared common MOU language or template and then kind of customize as needed?
Yeah, just like a basic, especially given it sounds like the existing work with KCTCS, that might be a good framework if we can borrow that. I was about to share with everybody what we did for our local Northern Kentucky Community Action Commission, which again, different relationship, but just sort of basic. And then we had the mechanisms on the back end to get them the email address and build them into the system so that they had FERPA need to know access and all that kind of stuff. So, but I can share that again. It's just a reason.
And I would, having experienced what's happened on my campus before anybody starts with Murray State, we would have to have that legal and registrar and everybody in that signed MOU. So I know they're in training and whatnot, but I would get in serious trouble if I brought somebody on without all the approvals in place.
Okay.
So that's why I was wondering, are we thinking May 1st? Are we thinking summer? What are we guesstimating, I guess?
So it's kind of a rolled out phased, wherever we get the most qualified applicants is where we roll with, just to be honest. We also are staffing up DCBS offices too, so we've got several different things going on. As we interview, we try to place them where they would be best fit. Like universities have a lot of outreach and a lot of, being out there and meeting everybody. Mingling and the DCBS offices are more behind the desk and just working with them as they wait in line to come to them. So we get to know them and their background and all of that, and then place them. So the only reason we already have one for Western is we had one of our connectors move like 2 hours from her location. So for about two or 3 months now, she's been driving an hour and a half back and forth to work one way. So we promised her as soon as we got that position that was open in Northern Kentucky, rather not Western, that she would be able to do a lateral transfer. And she also is somebody we're really considering to, possibly one of the managers, because she's been a manager in the past. She has a lot of really good experience. So we kind of need to know that we have a spot, that we have locations, because when we interview, we tell them, EKU, but then we want to be able to specifically make that offer to let them know where the position is. And if you could give us possibly, I was thinking like with that KCTCS IT consent form, it's like the form that says that they will not share, that they'll be held to, all those things. If you could share one of your consent forms with me as far as IT that your employees sign, or your students, or however you do that, for the email access and the other access of whatever systems they need, we can take that and try to incorporate it into one of our general MOUs or whatever, and send that out to you, and then have that approved prior to having anybody sign on to this particular program.
And
I think one of my asks in all of this also would be that it's clear on whatever is drafted, that it is multiple 4 years, and this has been something going on at KCT in the KCTC system, so that our legal counsel or our IT are aware that this isn't, you know, a new ask. This is something that's been ongoing, and other institutions are doing this as well, so that it feels less like a weird thing to any of those offices. And that does make it a little bit easier for me at my institution to make that ask and say, you know, this has been coming for a while, and you know, many of the wrinkles have been ironed out already. I know that we wouldn't be able to provide financial information to the connector, but I've already thought of workarounds, because I have access to some of that. I can send out emails to students and then connect them with the connector. And when the student then breaks that very, like, oh, I'm going to email this person to ask for help. When the student does that outreach, then that takes care of their self-selecting. So I have a game plan, but getting the email address and getting them into our Slate system, because I want them in that for scheduling appointments. If my institution knows that, you know, it's important for us to play nice because the other institutions are as well, it makes it a lot easier for me.
And I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly, because our office is very student forward. And I believe I heard that this would not only be a resource for students, but also potentially for employees. And so that brings in another group of folks that I want to make sure we're chatting with as well, because most of the work that we do within student success is very student forward. And so if we're talking about employees, that brings in another area that I want to make sure that we're collaborating with and informing.
So our focus will always be the students. But in working in universities in the past, I realized that there are lots of staff and sometimes even faculty that need help with insurance and other things. You know, you never know when something's going to happen. So we always ask them to be open to getting to know everybody, because getting to know that the staff and faculty will also bring referrals for other students. And the more you can network and get to know people, the more they're going to refer people to you. So that's why we say, you know, don't just outreach to the students. Make sure you're involving faculty and staff, make those connections, get those referrals, build those relationships.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you.
It's not that we're actively trying to enroll those and help them in services. We're letting them know who we are. And if they should need our help, absolutely, we can help you too.
I'm going to keep moving a little bit, but I know we already went over this particular, there's a link in here. I'll send this deck to everybody of the active job posting. I think I found in Louisville. So they will report to KPCA, and the position, you know, located at our university campus, will assist college students, staff, faculty, and local community Kentucky residents apply for and retain consumer assistance benefits, including Medicaid, K-CHIP, SNAP, CCAP, and I think and you said QEP, qualified health plans as well, QHP.
So we help with other programs too. Like we don't do KTAP, but KHIP is a program where if someone in the household qualifies for Medicaid, qualifies for services, then they can do an application to see if it's as cost efficient, and sometimes it is, to enroll the whole family in those services as opposed to just that one individual, because the MCOs, you know, that's a lot of, you know, funding that's going to them to make sure they're managing that one person's care. If, like, let's say, for example, Lily is working and has a child on a waiver program, or a child qualifies for K-CHIP, that kind of thing. She can say, well, we've got 5 other people in our family and I'm offered work insurance. She can do an application and see if it's cost efficient for them to add Lily's entire family to be able to get insurance through her employer that's backed up by Medicaid instead of going through an MCO. We have that application. Am I missing anything else, John?
No, I think you covered it all.
Okay.
And then they can also do outreach on your campuses. And I think that awareness raising piece around student basic needs services, that's very broad of what they can provide that information and outreach to, which I think is a great part of the role. Okay, I think that you've already been over this to some extent, Carol, that you've got positions posted in all of the areas where our universities are. And so you're just kind of going through that screening and interview process, looking for the most qualified candidates. The timeline is there's not like a go date necessarily. These are rolling applications. So did you change not WKU ready, but NKU, or is the WKU person the one who's transitioning from a different role?
It's Northern. I'm sorry if I said
Oh
Western. It's
no, Martha.
Northern. Yes,
Well,
Northern Kentucky
lucky for you,
University.
Bob.
Yes.
Unlucky for Martha.
Yep.
Okay.
We're always happy to be here.
I'm sorry, Martha.
Right. I was like, have somebody been on my campus and I didn't know?
No.
Yeah. But Carol,
So-
how would you'll just reach out immediately to the point of contact when you have their person selected, and then the onboarding would be about how many weeks notice are they going to get, I guess is my question.
So we were waiting to find out who the point of contact is, to kind of get that information and, where the office location was. We are interviewing, right? But we haven't offered any of these positions yet. We were kind of waiting for the other information to make sure we were on the same page and all of that. With the exception of the one lady who said, if you're saying that you have this position open, I would really love to not travel an hour and a half each way to work. So, but as far as she was talking about what is important for the point of contact to do, they kind of help make those connections and those arrangements to be, the IT or with other people on campus, the office space. They let them know, if they're going to be out on PTO or, their main campus contact, help with and getting the email and getting the kinks knocked out, and like keys to their office space, and advise them on who they would contact on campus for the different things like the food bank or, places, help them to realize or to find out who they can contact for doing outreach in different areas, whether they're going to be at the Student Success Center or find out events that's going on the campus, because they want to be at those big events to make sure that they're letting their presence be known. That's I think the main thing for the campus point of contact, and just to be able to connect with the manager to make sure everything is running smoothly, and working out the kinks there on your campus as to, what can our connector do to better reach your students and to better serve your campus.
All right, great. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Ariane. I know we have about 9 minutes left. This is very close to the end. There might be one more slide. And so just kind of sharing some of these best practices that we've learned through our KCTCS experience related to best practices in onboarding.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm going to hit the high notes, you guys, for the sake of time. The collaborative is working on developing a resource. It is mentioned in the first section. There's the higher education 101 training. But while we're working on this resource, campuses are going to play a vital role. And Carol just shared a lot about even what that campus point of contact is going to look like. But in those departments and areas that they're going to be integrated into is going to be really helpful and vital to help the connectors understand the unique infrastructure of your campus, your student success programs, your student support ecosystem, and some of those priorities that you all have set semester by semester. I know that some of that changes. So walking the connectors through existing processes and making sure that they are very much aware and embedded into some of the key partnerships that you all have with programs on campus, as well as any like community programs that you may have with, pantries or anything like that, are going to be very helpful for them. looking at integrating our connectors into existing student support functional areas. Like the report that we referred to earlier has really just provided us a lot of information and lessons that are learned from there. And so when we're looking at some of the most areas of success, there has been our most success is on campuses where the connectors are really fully integrated. There are a great part of the student support services team. They're working together to enhance efforts. So they're not a separate agency or entity. They are working to enhance and be a part of what's already available. So if a college is able to position connectors as part of their strategy, it has shown to increase engagement, stronger connections, and make sure that students are able to access help where they actually need it. So again, in talking about the integrating them, these connectors beyond just the campus integration, this design and the professional development that's even available through our community of practices, which were shared, or even one that just was finished. We had a connector who started our trauma-informed training. So she was able to be certified as a person who can actually train others on the campus that she's at and being trauma-informed. And so those type of opportunities are going to be very helpful with integrating your connectors on your campuses. Looking at the, well, we've already gone through the campus point of contacts. Let me go down to some of the connectors necessarily technology. Let's go to the technology. This often comes up, so I'm going to go to that. And just giving some of these examples because it truly plays a role in how much the connectors are able to get connected to campus services. And so Carol, I think Lily mentioned the Starfish as the example that KCTCS has. Them having access to this system has provided smoother student engagement. It is provided them to be able to track referrals, but it allows an opportunity for a targeted system referral. So for instance, Marianne, I'm going to tap into UK because that's where I came from. There's the pantry, and the pantry has a referral system. So if that connector was able to be connected to that referral system, and if your campus is the same, that pantry, when the student checks in, all of their information is recorded, their email, contact, their phone number, they do a survey on all of the resources that they may need. If the connector was able to have that report, that is printed up, whether it's weekly or monthly, they could have targeted, referrals and information and be very, on top of, what these students need, along with what the pantry, worker is doing or what your student success office is doing. So I know some others have already shared some programs that you have, but even a system managing, information and check-in could really be beneficial for those connectors to have access to. We're encouraging campuses to proactively identify student success stories. The stories that the students have are just really helpful for the connectors to be able to gain more, participation from other students. We are doing a campaign, working on things from the collaborative side of our responsibilities and sharing and making sure that everyone is aware, not just students, but staff and faculty, to share that information out and make sure that folks are aware of how vital these connectors are on your campus. And so them being able to, you all campuses being able to collect the student success stories on, how things have gone well, the type of support that's been given is going to give some real life examples that we can, reference when we're sharing this information, when we're doing presentations and reports. And that could be a part of our communication and sharing out basic needs, overall across the state. And again, we have our community of practices, which I hope that some of you all would also attend, because it is truly a learning space at a lot of different times where we hear everyone share and engage on these opportunities, and stories and things of the like are shared in those environments as well.
Thank you so much, Ariane. Okay, so it sounds like we have talked a lot. We've learned a lot. We've asked some really good questions. We've thought through some really important things that are coming next. And I want to review with you all what notes I took on things that we need to kind of follow up on. One of them is, well, just as this is an FYI, that the contract for the connectors between CHFS and KPCA currently goes through June 30th of 2026. Right, John? Okay, so
That's correct.
that's our current contract window for these full-time connectors on our campuses. And then, you know, we are doing, this is what Ariane's talking about, collecting the data, telling the stories, showing the impact, you know, because we want to sustain and scale this work, but we know that this is a significant investment. I mean, it's about $100K a year per connector when you get their travel, when you get the management overhead and some of the other, obviously their salaries and all of that, the resources that they use. So it's a really significant investment in our students. And so that's why we want to do a good job making the case. There are monthly data reports that come out. And so we currently those get shared with KCTCS system office, and they're by county as opposed to kind of by campus. But we do work with KPCA and Cabinet on ideal ways of tracking the data. And so we'll make sure that we kind of work on that. That's a guiding team priority to make sure that we get the data back to you all as well for your own case making or for your own awareness and impact, and for even just looking for opportunities to continue this direct outreach. One thing that is an immediate follow-up is we need your office locations. So if you can identify the office home for your full-time connector, and you can either share that to Lily or you can share that, we'll all be on an email thread together. It needs to go to Carol. But if you want to, wherever, what do you want? Let's make a decision. How about we share them all with Carol? And Carol, you let me know if you need any assistance in kind of following up and anything like that. Okay. We are going to work on an IT consent form, kind of a shared template for an IT consent form and MOA between our campus, our university partners, and KPCA. And so that's something that we'll want to get started right away so that we can give everybody as much time as possible to get it through your process, you know, before your connector hits the ground. And then I also have, you know, just a note, we're recruiting for the connector guiding team. If you are interested in serving on that group, guiding teams for the collaborative help prioritize, problem solve, and promote the strategies and the work that we're doing together. And then finally, I have a note, we would love to do a shared press release on the partnership and the expansion of support for basic needs for our students. And so, you know, we'll just kind of keep all partners in the loop as we draft something, get quotes from maybe Secretary Friedlander, Carol, someone from your team, a campus partner, et cetera, to share out broadly with folks. Any other follow-ups? Okay, well, I will share the meeting recording. I will share the PowerPoint deck. And, you know, probably a nice little list of these next steps, to-do list as well. Okay. And if anybody does need to set up an individual meeting, you know, for more information, for more clarity, please feel free to do all the communications that you need to do for your campus. Absolutely. And we're here to help if you need anything, but you are welcome to go direct and work with Carol as needed. All right. I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your day, and
Thank y'all so
we'll
much.
see you later.